coverage of the first rollout of NASA's mega moon rocket for Artemis 1. Coverage of the first rollout of NASA's mega moon rocket for Artemis 1.
The twin sister of Apollo.
Coverage of the first rollout of NASA's mega moon rocket for Artemis 1.
Artemis 1 will be the first flight test of each of these components. Uniting together, this is the first of Artemis's arrows, capable of ushering in the next chapter of human lunar exploration. With each component playing its part in a grander effort, we, the people of the Artemis generation, all around this beautiful world, will bear witness to what we are capable of. Together, we are going back to the moon.
Good afternoon and welcome into the iconic Vehicle Assembly Building at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I am Megan Cruz, and today you will witness history in the making. That right there is the world's most powerful rocket, NASA's Space Launch System, or SLS. And on top, the Orion spacecraft that will return us to the moon. We are reigniting our passion for discovery today by rolling this integrated system out of the VAB for the first time ever. That roll started just a few seconds ago, and now both SLS and Orion are headed to historic Launch Pad 39B for a critical test that will help determine if we are ready for Artemis 1. Artemis 1 is an uncrewed test flight of SLS, Orion, and the ground systems here at Kennedy. If all goes well, Orion will orbit the moon farther than any of the Apollo missions before it. Artemis 2 will have astronauts on board when it orbits the moon, and then Artemis 3 will land the first woman and the person of color on the moon's surface. The last time a person stepped foot on the moon was 50 years ago for Apollo 17, and that was the last time a moon-bound rocket left the Vehicle Assembly Building. Now, close to 10,000 people have gathered outside the VAB to see today's rollout. Wow, look at that crowd. You know, it sounds like an easy operation rollout, but really, it's not as easy as it may seem. Together, the rocket and spacecraft stand just taller than the Statue of Liberty. As you can imagine, you'd need a pretty impressive machine to move it all. Well, take a look at your screen. We're going to show you what we call the crawler, because it will slowly and carefully crawl SLS and Orion the 4 miles to the launch pad. It's that piece of machinery you see on the bottom there carrying all of that. It's 4 miles to the launch pad. Estimated arrival at the pad is 4:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. So again, 11 hours from now. We are taking this slow and easy. Whether you're here in person or with us virtually, we are so glad to have you here to celebrate this historic moment. Over the next hour, we will have Grammy Award-winning artist Eddie Vedder with a song that honors the Artemis missions. You will also hear from NASA's administrator. But first, I'm excited to introduce the University of Central Florida's Jammin' Knights to perform our national anthem. Returning to the moon is a multinational ambition, the tireless work of more than 70,000 people across every state of our country and also different countries around the world. SLS and Orion parts were brought to Kennedy Space Center via trains, planes, ships, and vehicles for final assembly in High Bay 3 behind me.
We are at Kennedy Space Center. Every piece of hardware necessary to return to the moon is now here.
They are being assembled, stacked, fueled, and primed for flight.
Next time these engines fire up, we'll be on the launch pad to send an uncrewed Orion spacecraft around the moon on a flight test for the Artemis 1 mission.
It's been a journey of 1,000 miles from factory floors all across this country and around the world to here. And now the stage has been set.
We are seeing Artemis take her place.
The framework to support the enormity of this moment can't be measured in renovations and rehearsals alone.
But in the testing of a metal found much deeper.
With each segment built upon the one before it, the volume of anticipation can be seen rising.
For in addition to certifying what a host of testing has already previewed,
Dawn of Orion and a new era of American space exploration.
Artemis will demonstrate a new path to the moon for this generation.
Artemis 1.
An uncrewed test flight will be a final proving of every system
In every component.
in the harshness of space.
A mission that, when successful, will open the door for the moonwalkers and lunar experiments
that so many have hoped and dreamed about.
We are going.
Eight minutes into rollout, and as you can see, our crawler team is still focused, working really hard to get SLS and Orion out of the vehicle assembly building. You know, this is years in the making, this operation, with John Giles here leading the way. He oversees our crawler team with NASA's Exploration Ground Systems Program, or EGS, here at Kennedy. Thank you so much for finding the time to talk with us, John.
Very much welcome.
And I just got word that the crawler has crossed the threshold
Yes.
of the VAB. How does that feel? I'm so excited. You should be excited. You're relieved.
Inside, I am very excited.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, talk to me about where we are in the operation. You know, there was a little bit of a delay today. Can you walk us through some of that?
So we had a couple little delays on some observers. We need many observers to watch us going out to make sure we don't hit anything. So as you can see from all those platforms up there, sometimes it takes a while for the people to get to those platforms. So
Sure.
that held us up for a little bit. And then there was a piece of environmental control system ductwork that was in the way. That was moved. And then we lifted up to 18 inches over the mounts.
And now we're crawling.
And now we're crawling. And I think it was about 5:47 p.m. when I got
Gotcha.
first word we were moving.
Let's turn around and take a look at this. It is crawling. You can see that it's moved quite a bit.
Yes.
How do you feel knowing that you're a part of this team that's making this happen, and we're returning to the moon soon?
It's almost indescribable. I've waited a decade for this since we first started modifying this crawler and getting ready for this. So we are ready. This is so exciting. And even though it's a bit of a long ride out to the pad, I'm looking forward to every bit of it.
Let's talk about this crawler, an impressive machine. It was built in the 60s.
Yes, it was. And the fact that we are still using that today is a testament to all the people that work on it, all the people that maintain it. We have lots of experience with this. We have lots of talented technicians who keep this thing going and maintained. And that's the reason we're still using this piece of equipment that's 57 years old.
And we can see some of the video right here. I mean, this is the crawler that took out, we're talking about shuttle missions, Apollo missions. Talk to us about that.
Every single mission. So launch pads 39A and B, all the Apollo missions, Skylab, all the shuttle missions, Constellation, and now SLS. Everything that launched there rode on one of our 2 crawlers.
Wow.
It's the only way to get to the pad.
Yeah, gives me goosebumps thinking about it, the rich history here.
It's given me goosebumps too.
You talk about the fact that there needed to be a number of modifications, right, to make sure that we could support SLS and Orion?
So at the end of shuttle, they came to us and said, we have some new requirements for the SLS program. Bunch of requirements, but the biggest one was you have to be able to increase the weight you can carry.
Sure.
So the original design was for 12 million pounds. So we did a lot of modifications to the roller bearings, to the trucks, to the brakes, to our jacking equalization and leveling cylinders, everything, so we can now lift 18 million pounds.
That is a lot of weight.
50% increase over
Wow.
the original design.
Wow. And you guys did that. You made that happen. You know, I also read an interesting stat that the top of the crawler, the surface there, is the size of a baseball diamond. That is unbelievable. And the fact that somebody is driving something that size right now.
So that comes from the bases on a Major League Baseball field are 90 feet apart. So the 4 locations where we intersect or where we mate with the mobile launcher are 90 feet apart. So that is an actual baseball infield. But the
Wow.
crawler is actually even bigger.
Wow.
It's 131 feet by 114 feet, weighs 6.6 million pounds. So it's, in talking with the drivers, it's kind of like driving a super tanker.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop fast. It doesn't move fast. You have to think way ahead when you're going to make turns. And everything is just, we need a lot of people to do that.
Challenging. And a lot of people have many different jobs to make sure an operation like this goes according to plan. Can you talk to us about some other jobs?
So other than the drivers, we have engineers that are monitoring all the systems in the control room. We have technicians, electrical technicians, mechanical technicians, diesel technicians, mechanics. We have logistics personnel in case we need parts. We have lots of observers everywhere because the driver can't see everything as he's driving. So we need other people to follow us and walk with us and tell us, we need to start turning here, we need to slow down there. So everybody's on headsets like we are, and they're all talking to each other. It's a huge undertaking.
Absolutely. And that's why, you know, obviously it's going to take quite a bit to get to the launch pad, and we're looking at an 11-hour journey by the time it finally reaches the launch pad. But now that you've explained it, I absolutely understand why it has to take quite a bit. Thank you so much, John.
You're very welcome.
Good luck with the rest of Rollout. I can't
Thank
wait
you.
to see it on the pad.
Thank you.
Now, the Artemis program is named after Artemis of Greek mythology. She was Apollo's twin sister and the goddess of the moon. Artemis 1 will build on the achievements of those who came before us and create a permanent presence on the moon and inspire our next giant leap to Mars.
We are going. The history of this agency is marked with broken barriers, once viewed as impossible, with science fiction turned reality, with innovations that have spun industries all their own, and with demonstrations of peace for all humankind.
We soar in the skies of our home planet. We maintain a human presence just outside of gravity, and we touch points all across the solar system and beyond. We're going back to the moon, and this is why.
The moon is a treasure trove of science. It holds opportunities for us to make discoveries about our home planet, about our sun, and about our solar system.
The wealth of knowledge to be gleaned from the moon will inspire a new generation of thought and action.
Without fail,
Every major program and mission NASA has invested in has led to technologies and capabilities that have shaped our culture.
The breakthroughs of the Artemis era will define our generation and the generations to follow.
The tens of thousands of jobs associated with propelling us to the moon today are just the beginning of a lunar economy that will see hundreds of thousands of new jobs develop around the world.
This is not an ambition of one entity or one country. The exploration of the moon is a shared effort,
woven together by a desire for the greater good.
Why the moon? Because the missions of tomorrow will be sparked by the accomplishments of the Artemis generation today.
Because the ambition to go has already begun.
And because Mars is calling. We need to learn what it takes to establish a community on another cosmic shore. So let's camp close before pushing out.
And so, we go to the moon now, not as a series of isolated missions, but to build a community on and around the moon capable of proving how to live on other worlds.
We'll use the lessons from more than 50 years of peaceful exploration to send a new generation to the lunar surface to stay.
We will anchor our efforts on the lunar South Pole to establish the Artemis Base Camp,
positioning us for long-term science and exploration of the lunar surface.
We will prove what it takes to assemble a complex ship in deep space.
We will perfect ascending down to and returning from a distant surface.
We will learn how humans can survive and thrive in a partial gravity environment.
With improved spacesuit designs, mobile habitats, and with reconnaissance robots pre-positioning and relocating supplies.
We will learn how to utilize the resources we find on these other worlds, starting with finding water ice and purifying it to drinkable water.
And refining that into hydrogen for fuel and oxygen to breathe.
We will establish fission power plants on the surface of the moon, capable of supporting a growing community of efforts.
and we will expand the logistics supply chain to enable commercial and international partners
to resupply and refuel deep space outposts.
None of this is simple or easy, but nothing in our history ever has been.
The Eagle has landed. We got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
This kind of continuous lunar presence is a natural extension of all that we've learned in low Earth orbit. And what we will accomplish there will ensure the monumental missions to Mars are within reach. As we ready the launch of the first Artemis mission, and as commercial companies ready their lunar landers for the first private payload deliveries, we have already begun to take the next step.
Everyone, take a look at your screen right now. That right there is SLS and Orion, and it is outside of the vehicle assembly building for the first time ever. It is giving me goosebumps just to say that, seeing it poised there. This is a historic moment, a big moment. We will remember this day for a very, very, very long time. Again, that's a wide shot we have there. You can see it outside. Again, that iconic vehicle assembly building. We have seen Apollo rockets out of there. We have seen shuttles come out of there. Now it is time for SLS and Orion. Crews are moving it all to the pad today for a critical test that will take place in 2 weeks. And joining me now to talk about that test is Cliff Lanham. He is the Senior Vehicle Operations Manager, also with NASA's EGS at Kennedy. Cliff, what an exciting day.
Oh, you can't imagine for this team. We have been working really hard over the last 14 months to get to this point, and the team is beyond excited. We're ready to get out to the pad. There's 21 million pounds of hardware between the crawler and the mobile launcher and the Artemis headed out to the pad, so we're ready to go.
This must mean so much to your team. I mean, you guys are in charge of really everything, right? Talk to me about what EGS is in your role.
So EGS, Exploration Ground Systems, is one of the 3 sister programs that's responsible for getting us back to the moon. And from our standpoint, we are responsible for development of the pad, the mobile launcher, the crawler, and doing all the facilities and the ground support equipment that's responsible for supporting build-up and testing of the rocket. So we do that, but in addition to that, we're responsible for operations as far as assembly, test, and checkout of the rocket. We also are responsible for launching the rocket, and then we're also responsible for recovery of the crew module out in the Pacific after splashdown.
That's a lot. So this is the start of a lot that we are looking forward to. Yes. That's wonderful. And you know, now the rocket is on its way to historic launch pad 39B. Yeah, a lot of rich history there.
Right. Oh, absolutely. 39B, actually, it's where Apollo 10, the precursor for Apollo 11, the first moon landing, started. We've done 3 Skylab launches from there, 51 shuttle launches, and also a Constellation test launch. So a lot of action has occurred out there at Pad 39B.
So it's headed out there for a wet dress rehearsal. Can you tell people what that is?
Absolutely. Wet dress rehearsal is a major test for us where we're actually going to load over 700,000 gallons of propellant, liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen into both the first and second stages, so the SLS and the ICPS in this case. The team will run through a countdown, so they'll start about 8 hours prior to what is called T0, and they'll actually go through their procedures for a countdown. They'll get down below a minute, and they'll recycle that count to practice that as well, up to 10 minutes, and then they'll count back down to less than 10 seconds when they'll stop the test, and that'll be the end of the test, drain the vehicle, and evaluate the information and see how we did.
Yeah, so you guys have to have a successful wet dress rehearsal, right, before we can announce a date for Artemis 1 launch?
Correct. So what they'll do, they'll spend a week or 2 evaluating data. They'll know pretty soon during the test, hey, we're meeting our objectives. But it will take probably, 1 to 2 weeks before they'll be ready to say, hey, the test is fully successful and we're ready to start thinking about setting a launch date.
Okay. So today is a big day because we are getting to that final test that hopefully soon we will know when Artemis 1 launches.
Absolutely. We're very excited about it. And again, this is the next big milestone for us, getting to the moon. So.
Yeah. Well, good luck with everything. Good luck with the wet dress. Good luck with the rest of the rollout. And I'm excited. I hope you are too.
I am too. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. We're now about 25 minutes into rollout and we're seeing more and more of the crawler, the mobile launcher, SLS, Orion. Wow, look at that there. What a beautiful view. And I do want to talk a little bit about the mobile launcher there. That's that structure that you see that's holding up the rocket and the capsule. So the mobile launcher, or ML, is what fully assembled and processed SLS and Orion. The crawler is going to leave both the ML and the integrated rocket on the pad because the ML will supply SLS and Orion with things like power, communications, and fuel before launch. And then SLS will lift off from the ML. And when we fly crew on later Artemis missions, they will use a walkway called the Crew Access Arm on the mobile launcher to get into Orion. Now, like the crawler, there are a lot of people on the mobile launcher right now. There are about 65 people allowed to be on there during this operation, and they'll go on and off as needed. People like engineers, technicians, safety personnel, and the 2 elevators on the ML, this is really interesting, they will be turned off for this operation. So if anyone needs to go to the very top there, that is going to be quite the walk. All right, how about we check back in with the crowd outside? You know, we had some rain yesterday, but luckily the weather today is gorgeous, dry, sunny, beautiful. You know, so many people excited to witness this historic rollout. Again, I'm told nearly 10,000 people are out here, many of them Kennedy Space Center employees with their family and friends. Right now, they can see, again, all of SLS and Orion in its glory. It's just a beautiful sight, and for those out here today, it is a very lucky and blessed opportunity to get to see this outside of the VAB. Coming up, we're going to hear from Janet Petro. She's our Kennedy Space Center director, and after her, we'll have NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. But first, another special musical performance, this time Return to the Moon, an homage to Artemis performed by the University of Central Florida's Symphonic Brass and Percussion Band.
Well, good evening, Kennedy Space Center. Thank you all for joining us for this historic event, and I think an emotional event for a lot of us out here today. I am so happy that so many joining us today with our workforce, our loved ones are joining us out here today, as many of you also have made so many sacrifices over the years to get to this milestone. This year, Kennedy Space Center celebrates 60 years supporting America's space program. And as we take some time to reflect on the 6 decades of science and exploration, it really seems fitting that we look ahead, celebrate this milestone, our first step to returning to the moon. You know, every single vehicle that has carried humans beyond the bounds of low Earth orbit has undergone integration and testing in that vehicle assembly building, crawled down this roadway and launched right here from the Kennedy Space Center. Tonight, after years of meticulous planning, development, integration, testing, the Space Launch System mated with the Orion spacecraft will continue this proud tradition, leaving the VAB, as you see in front of you, to make its way to the pad for the very first time. And just as all eyes are on the SLS tonight as it makes its journey, in a few short weeks, all eyes are going to be on the sky as it rocks the space coast and takes its maiden flight around the moon and then comes back. You know, 60 years ago, Kennedy Space Center was established to meet the challenge of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. Through Artemis, we will see the first woman and the first person of color on the lunar surface. We'll develop and implement the science necessary for a long-term human presence in deep space, and we will utilize this knowledge to prepare for future human missions to Mars. Today we honor that legacy for those who paved the way before us, and as we blaze a new trail and contribute to a new chapter in our history of our nation and of this agency. It's now my pleasure to introduce you tonight to someone who has served in public office for over 4 decades, first in the state legislature, then as a U.S. congressman, then as a state treasurer. He was elected 3 times to the United States Senate and represents my home state of Florida for 18 years. And in 1986, he flew on the 24th flight of the space shuttle, where he served as a payload specialist on STS-61 aboard Space Shuttle Columbia. His passion and his commitment to the agency and its mission are helping NASA to continue to advance the frontiers of knowledge and exploration. So please help me and join in welcoming our NASA Administrator, Senator Bill Nelson.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world's most powerful rocket ever, right here. And it's back to the moon and then on to Mars. Let's hear it for the musicians at the University of Central Florida. I want to give a shout out to the more than 24 members of the crawler transporter team. They are transporting SLS out to the launch pad, and the team is led by Bob Myers, who is at the wheel of the crawler. Across the nation are sacred sites that capture the spirit of America's character, and one of those places is right here, the Kennedy Space Center. At these launch pads, remarkable individuals achieve unthinkable things. And 60 years ago, an American pioneer propelled upwards to the heavens from Launch Complex 14. And that legendary explorer is John Glenn. That spacecraft, Friendship 7, orbited the Earth 3 times. And that was the day that America's space program went full throttle. It gave way to the Apollo generation. That generation not only landed the first humans on the moon, it provided the spark that fuels today's multi-billion-dollar satellite industry. It encouraged young visionaries and kicked off a technology revolution. The modern computing era is one example. And we are very privileged to have one of those Apollo astronauts with us, General Tom Stafford, Apollo 10. Today, a new generation, not the Apollo generation, but it's the Artemis generation, is preparing to reach new frontiers. This generation will return astronauts to the moon, and this time we will land the first woman and the first person of color on the surface to conduct groundbreaking science. NASA's Artemis program will pave the way for humanity's giant leap, future missions to Mars. There's no doubt that we are in a golden era of human space exploration, discovery, and ingenuity in space. And it all begins with Artemis 1. The Space Launch System is the only rocket capable of sending humans into deep space. It's the most powerful rocket in the world. And during liftoff, it will produce 8.8 million pounds of thrust, propelling the Orion spacecraft about 240,000 miles to the moon. And Orion will venture farther than any spacecraft built for humans that has ever flown humans. It will stay in space longer than any spacecraft designed for astronauts that has ever done without docking to a space station. And after a 3-week journey of over 1 million miles, Orion will come home faster and hotter than any vehicle has before. And it wouldn't be possible without all of you here today. We are joined by thousands of members of the NASA family. It's because of you that we are here today. Our workforce has been a relentless spirit. We imagine, we build, we never stop pushing the envelope of what is possible. I often say that at NASA, the impossible is made possible. Artemis 1 will demonstrate NASA's commitment to and capacity to extend humanity's presence on the moon and beyond. But this mission is not just cementing NASA's leadership in space, it's strengthening America's small businesses. It's supporting America's universities. It's showing the might of America's scientists, mathematicians, and technicians. Artemis 1 is possible because of the contributions from all 50 states. The program is an economic engine for America. In 2019 alone, it generated $14 billion and supported 70,000 good-paying jobs across the country. But to lead in the 21st century, America must not go alone. We must accomplish our goals together. Artemis represents global ambitions and participation from 5 international partners. The European Space Agency provides the European Service Module, the powerhouse of the Orion spacecraft that provides electricity, propulsion, thermal control, air, water to Orion in space. This is a critical partnership that not just for Artemis 1, but for the future Artemis missions as well. And that's just the beginning. Thanks to the international collaboration, 3 so-called passengers will fly on Orion. Zohar and Helga, named by the Israel Space Agency and the German Aerospace Center, are two female mannequins. Their jobs are to provide data on radiation levels during the mission. The third passenger is a male mannequin whose name was decided by more than 300,000 people in a naming contest. And his name is Commander Munikin Campos, honoring Arturo Campos, the late member of the NASA family. Arturo helped bring the crew of Apollo 13 safely back to Earth. And a surprise, Snoopy in his orange spacesuit will hitch a ride. We're also taking advantage of additional space on SLS to launch several CubeSats in cooperation with the Japan's Aerospace Exploration Agency and the Italian Space Agency. Humanity's drive to explore the cosmos is not bound by border. Discovery strengthens diplomacy. This mission, this program, will build a global alliance that explores deep space for the benefit of all. And of course, Artemis 1 will be a major step, but our journey is far from over. This will be the first in a series of increasingly complex missions. In 2024, for the first time since Apollo 8, astronauts will return to the moon on Artemis 2. The astronauts will fly in lunar orbit, venturing farther into space than any humans have ever before. And these are not a series of isolated missions. Each will be a groundbreaking complement and component to build the presence on and around the moon and eventually beyond. And none of this is easy. Nothing NASA dares to achieve ever is. But as we have shown with this pandemic, NASA knows how to press forward. Artemis personifies why NASA needs continuity of purpose. Our missions have not achieved and were not achieved just by a single administration, but across many administrations. And I'm proud President Biden has shown strong support for these missions. And every breakthrough should be seen as a triumph for our country and all of humanity. And when the next humans walk on the moon, I hope that every single child around the world, I hope they see themselves in this new generation of explorers. NASA's history has become intertwined with the never-ending American story. The sky has never been the limit for NASA. This is our opportunity to make limitless potential of every American. It's past time to bring down the barriers that limit opportunity in underserved and underrepresented communities. It's time to anchor fairness as a core in every component in every NASA mission. Artemis missions should show every child that they can dream it. If they can dream it, they can be it. And perhaps they will one day join the NASA family as a technician or a mathematician. Maybe they'll walk on the moon or be the pioneers who venture onward to Mars. This is what NASA does best. We unify, we discover, we inspire. And from this sacred and historical place, humanity will soon embark on a new era of exploration. Aboard this spacecraft will be a flash drive. It will hold the names of over 1 million individuals from around the world. That flash drive will contain more than names. It will represent our stories, who we are. The child who imagines themselves soaring in the skies. The student who burns the midnight oil at the library so they can build a rocket and a spacecraft like this one. The NASA employee who gazes up at the moon every night, knowing that their work will soon return humankind to the lunar surface. And when this monster rocket lifts off, it will carry all of our greatest hopes in the heavens. Every single person who dreams of discoveries will see many more in our lifetime. I want to thank all of you, all of these workers, the whole space team, the family of NASA, and may God bless you and the Artemis to the moon and then to Mars. God bless you.
If you're just joining us, welcome to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where everyone is celebrating. Take a look at them in that crowd. They are celebrating what you see there on your screen. We just unveiled our brand new moon rocket, which you see right there, poised outside of the Vehicle Assembly Building for the first time ever. Woohoo, right? I'm very, very excited about it. NASA's Space Launch System, or SLS, is the most powerful rocket in the world, and sitting on top is the new Orion capsule that will fly us back to the moon. The last time a moon rocket rolled out of the VAB was in 1972, 50 years ago, for Apollo 17. Once Artemis 1 proves we are ready to put humans in Orion, this person right here may be one of those astronauts. Lucky you, Victor. Victor Glover, everyone, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Megan. It's great to be here.
How do you feel being here? Let's take a look right here. This rocket's almost out of view.
It's on its way. It's going. That's what we came here for, though, and it is a great day. And, you know, honestly, the most important thing that I can say is I'm just really happy for all the folks who worked hard to make this a reality, and I'm here to celebrate with them and also to celebrate them. It's a great day.
When you found out that you were going to be here for Rollout, were you like, yes?
I was going to be here for Rollout no matter what, even if I had to pay for my own ticket. But, yeah, when I found out I get to do this, I was like, yes. It's just a special place for me. I love Kennedy Space Center, and especially when there's a rocket out on the crawlerway.
Yeah, just seeing the rocket here, does it make the Artemis mission seem more real?
Oh, always. There's, you know, in the astronaut office, we tell people, hey, if you ever have a chance to go see space flight hardware, go do it. Doesn't matter what it's for, go see it. It helps you do your job better, and that's absolutely true today. I've seen a lot of, PowerPoint slides and read a lot of briefings about this, but to see it all stacked on the mobile launcher, on the crawler transporter, it just makes it so much more real.
Oh, absolutely. And you're, again, one of the lucky few. 18 astronauts were chosen for the Artemis team. How does it feel to be part of that team?
Honestly, you know what? I've talked to folks a lot about this today, and when we make that call for Artemis 2, when we tell the crew that you're go for translunar injection, we're saying, hey, everything is good, go to the moon. Whatever position I'm in, whether it's at home on my couch, whether I'm on the Houston side of that call, or if I'm in space on that side of the call, entire astronaut office, it's all of us are, honored to be able to help out and make this hardware and software a reality. So I'm excited for whoever gets to do it, and whatever part of that call I get to be on, I'm excited for the crew that actually gets to go.
Yeah.
When they go, I'll be excited for them.
Excited? Are you also anxious? I mean, the moon is a lot farther than the ISS, and I know you've been to the ISS.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. It's 1,000 times farther, right? The ISS orbit's at 250 miles. The moon's 240,000 miles away. And so it's interesting. I like to say it's not just 1,000 times farther, but it's probably 1,000 times more complicated of a mission. So many more things have to go right. And it's also, when we add Artemis 3 and we're going to the surface now, you have to get from the surface of the moon back to lunar orbit, which is like the equivalent of launching a low Earth orbit mission from Earth. So very complicated mission. And so we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we're going to get it done. And it'll be all starting with this one, with Artemis 1.
What do you think of the fact everything that you just described seems, no pun intended, out of this world? And the fact that thousands of people from across the globe came together to make this today a reality, and that we're on the path to the moon, to Mars. How do you feel about that?
That is a really big part of this. That's what's special. Someone asked me earlier, talking about being part of the Artemis team. They said, hey, how does it feel, to watch your rocket? And I said, well, look, correction. I mean, this is our rocket. It's humanity's rocket. When those 4 RS-25s and those 2 solids light, I hope the whole world is watching. And I hope a lot of kids decide to study science and math because of it. And that's really what it's about, inspiring kids to go out and be their best selves. And so I am excited because this is a great step for humanity. We call things that humans come together to do, when we put aside our differences and we accomplish great things, we call them moonshots. But it's been a long time since we've actually made a moonshot. So our generation now has a chance to have our own actual moonshots.
Yeah, hearing you talk about it just makes me so excited. Just your passion for this program and what's to come. Thank you so much for sharing that with me and the rest of everyone watching today. Thank you, Victor.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
All right, perfect. And that's going to wrap up our live coverage of the first ever rollout of NASA's brand new moon rocket. We're an hour into this. We still have 10 more to go until the crawler reaches pad 39B. It will stay on the pad until the wet dress rehearsal the first week in April, and if all goes well, the launch team will set a date for Artemis 1. If you don't want to miss any part of this first Artemis mission, you can register to be a virtual guest. You'll receive important updates and special content straight to your inbox. You can sign up for that by scanning the QR code you see there on your screen. It will take you to this website, nasa.gov/virtual-guest, if it's easier just to write down. Again, nasa.gov/virtual-guest. And when Artemis 1 does take flight, we will, of course, have a live broadcast for you. It will start on NASA TV about 2 hours before liftoff. Let's end the show now with Grammy award-winning artist Eddie Vedder and his new song titled Invincible, a nod to this moment. Getting here was not easy. It was the work of thousands of dreamers and doers across the globe. Thanks to their invincible spirit, we are on our way to the launch pad, then the moon, then Mars. Because we are curious, we are capable, we are Artemis. Good night.
Let's go on with a few. We're gonna just play a few new songs on you. Try them on, see if they fit.